YouTube fan community, Beatles fans, random people on the internet, my name is Giggens. We're here today to talk about the recently reissued Beatles Red and Blue albums. I have them on CD because the records are insanely expensive, and I just can't justify that for right now. Down the line, someday. But for right now, the CDs are absolutely fine for me, and they sound awesome. So, we all know the story. There's a million videos on YouTube at this point about these things. Here are my thoughts. I love them. Simple as that. If you're going to pick up either of them, obviously the blue one's great. The red one's kind of the one that I would lean towards because we haven't gotten a lot of these remixes yet for these early songs. You know, when they started doing this reissue program back in 2017 with Sgt. Pepper, they went forward from there. Now they're slowly going backwards to Revolver, and Rubber Soul might be next on the list at some point. So to hear some of these new stereo remixes of stuff from Rubber Soul is just eye-opening. You know, especially like Day Tripper, Norwegian Wood, Nowhere Man, In My Life. You hear things so clearly and vividly and sharp and crisp. I mean, I don't know how the heck they do it, but it sounds so good. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. For those who don't know the story, these records got released in 1973. There was a very popular bootleg at the time called Alpha Omega, and it was doing numbers. But the album was made from rips from the record, not the original master tapes. And it was just doing super well. I mean, it was getting a lot of attention. People were buying the crap out of this thing. And the people at Apple and Capitol thought, well, we got to combat this thing. And plus, it adds to the Beatles' contract of fulfilling their contract for a lot of the records that they owed. When they broke up, they still owed several records. So that's why the Hey Jude album came out, these things came out, the rock and roll music, etc., etc. Until they like wrapped up what their contract wanted. Anyway, these things came out, and for a lot of people, this was their introduction to the Beatles. You know, like I had a bunch of their albums when I was a kid, you know, early on, and including the Red album on cassette before we got the rest of the CDs. Had my parents' record collection as well, but I was trying to buy the CDs at that time or saving up allowance money or getting them for birthday presents when I was a kid. And the Red album was great because it just captured the energy of that era, that Beatlemania era, where they were so young, they were learning how to write songs together up until Revolver, where you get some of the weird stuff. And then with the Blue album, it's just the second half of their career, and it's just this amazing document of some of the most incredibly recorded music of all time. It was funny listening back to the Blue album just now. I haven't played A Day in the Life in a while, and it just blew my mind. It just blew my mind. It's such an amazing track. The construction, the way it ends, the eeriness, the energy, it's such a fantastic piece of work. And Ringo's drums on that song are incredible. One of the things I've enjoyed about these remixes is hearing the drums more clear. Because there's things that I noticed that I've seen them do on live performances that you don't hear too well on the record. For instance, on All My Loving, I love this version because you hear that swing beat that Ringo gives. He's not just pounding it like, 4/4. He's got a little bit of a swing to it. And if you listen to it on the new one, you hear that. And it's so cool to hear that. I Want to Hold Your Hand is just, it's open. It just sounds so open. The guitars are so bright. The vocals sound like they're in the room with you. Again, the sharpness on the drums, the bass is so much more present. And a lot of this is bringing up the bass and bringing up the drums, which were buried in the mixes back in the day. It's just how it was. But they sound fantastic here. Please Please Me is one of the first, I mean, it's the second song on the mix on the album. And that one for me just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this sounds like a whole different band. It was like hearing it for the first time. Ticket to Ride was the same way too. The vocals on Ticket to Ride, they're so clean. It's just so much fun to listen to. And the stuff on the second disc, like I said, the Rubber Soul teasers, if you will, sound great. And at the end, we've got stuff from the Revolver remix, which we just got. Which brings to the Blue album. A lot of this album we already have on the remix albums that they've put out in the last few years, up from the Beatles 1 Plus up to Let It Be. And while some people might say that, and I might see, this release as like, oh, we just got these, I just bought these, it's just fun to have them all in one grouping together. Taking all those current mixes and making this collection just brings this collection to up to date, gives a new life. And when you hear like Sergeant Pepper, that new remix still blows me away. It's gritty, it's rocking, the drums just slap, the cymbals are crashing. I mean, that this version of Sergeant Pepper, it's just something to behold. I mean, your ears are like, wow, I've always wanted to hear it like this. You know, it's so good. And then you get some new stuff on here, like Hey Bulldog. Again, the vocals are really up front. Background vocals that were kind of buried before are very audible. Um, yeah, basically that's kind of it. It's interesting going into Now and Then at the end. The transition from Long and Winding Road to Now and Then, which I think, name wise is interesting because it was a long and winding road to get to here where we are now. It fits on the album very well. Gotta admit, it really, really does. The only hiccup I would say is that I really believe we need that Freeze a Bird and Real Love buffer to get to Now and Then. Because as comfortable as the transition as it is, having Now and Then after Real Love and Free as a Bird would complete the story better. You could have taken off a couple songs and put those two on there, and everyone would have loved it and called it 1970 to 2023, and people would have flipped their Wookiees about it. They would have been stoked. I would have been. Having those three songs together on one disc, what are you guys waiting for? Something tells me they're redoing them for the Anthology Series. I have a feeling they're going to remaster the Anthology Series or remix the Anthology Series with the MAL software, and we'll get those because they've never been reissued. They came out in the 90s, and that was it. They've never been touched. So having them reissued on record, on CD, and on digital, I'm sure is in the pipeline. So those songs, well, they redid them for the Beatles 1 Plus. They use different solos, which I'm not a fan of. I like the original ones better. Anyways, they needed to be on this album. So I'm not sure why they skipped that. It's such a missed opportunity. It's a no-brainer. Complete no-brainer. If you're going to have Now and Then on here, put Freeze a Bird and Real Love on. Anyways, packaging-wise, it's exactly the same as the other ones you got in 2010. New liner notes from John Harris, which is really cool. So it kind of gives more detail about the creation of Now and Then and just the use of the software, MAL, for all these different songs and the demixing process and what that's all about. So that's really good to read about. But I just love these releases. I've always loved these releases, and if you haven't seen it, I just put up a video review of the 2010 editions of these albums where I was doing a different type of review series in 2010 that I never released before. So I'm glad that's out there in the world, as goofy and bad as it is, and I'm happy to have this out here in the world to talk about these releases. These are important. These are historical documents. And so many people are like, oh, why should I buy these again? Why should I buy these again? You don't have to. No one's making you. This might be the first time someone ever buys these albums. These might be the first time some kid walks to Target and is like, the Beatles, I've heard of them. I've seen them on TikTok. I'll try the CD out. I think my parents have a CD player. And it might blow their mind. And they might go down that journey of discovering one of the best bands of all time that we've all done as well. So it's here for future generations. Take it if you want it, or don't. Simple as that. It's an incredible body of work, and it sounds fresh and vibrant and full of life. Songs we've heard a million times make you excited again. Particularly on the Red album, because we haven't gotten a lot of these. The whole first CD and half the second CD is basically new stuff, new mixes. So it's so exciting to put these things on and dig in. I loved listening to both, but the Red album kind of captured my attention a little bit more just because we're hearing new things. Whereas with the Blue album, we've got most of these already. But that's it. Kind of a short review. Short, it's almost 10 minutes here. My name is Giggens. Long story short, 10 out of 10. I love these albums. I'll buy them every time they put them out. And someday I'll get the records, the vinyl, but not for a while because they're expensive. And these were available to buy at the store for a lot cheaper. And they sound great. They look great. Nice shiny covers. Just like I said in the old video. Nice shiny covers. They grew beards. There you go. My name is Giggens. This has been the Beatles Red and Blue albums, 1962 to 66, 67 to 23. Let's call it what it is. Highly recommend picking them up. If you haven't picked up a Beatles CD in a while, do yourself a favor. Pick it up, put it on. It's fun to rediscover music that we love. Simple as that. What are your thoughts on these releases? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves.